Welcome to the House of Expansion podcast. I am your host, Louise Fernando. I am a business mindset and energy strategist. Today, I have the incredible Natasha Leya, who is an absolute queen on sales, silk weaves, which we will discuss later, and how you can sell in a way that feels seamless, not your car salesperson type of sales, but the type of sales that feel like you're being taken on an exotic cruise and you don't know where you're going, but you trust where you're going. So let me just hand over to Natasha and introduce yourself, Natasha. Let everyone know who you are, what you do, and yeah, let's just dive in.
I love that introduction. That was amazing. So, I'm Natasha. I'm a sales coach for spicy women around the world that are looking to do sales a little bit differently. Like you said, the car salesman, the hard, cold pitch is so outdated. To be honest with you, like when I was first starting out in sales, that's what I was taught, not even in my own business, but I was an international headhunter for like oil and gas and energy. That's what I was taught. And I remember being in this super corporate environment full of guys that were like, I used to call it smash and grab. They just try and make sales and burn relationships left, right, and center, hard, cold pitches. And I was like, I want to do things differently. So I kind of carried that on into my business as well. I really focus on, like you said, the silk weave, which is like this effortless way of selling and helping women do exactly the same way. Like, I want to move away from that boring, traditional way of selling, which feels really, really forced and is, like I said, it's outdated, and move more into method selling, which has become my signature kind of way of selling the silk weave, which, like you said, we're going to discuss a little bit more a little bit further down the line. But I work with people that really feel like they are, it's cliche, but the best kept secret, and they want to kind of give back to the world. They want to be known, they want to create a presence and have an impact, but they don't want to do it in the way that they've been taught by all these huge coaches with massive followings. They want to kind of make it more personal, and the whole concept when it comes to selling is about layering trust. That's what we want to be doing. We want to build trust, we want to build value, and we want to sell in a way that just feels like, I don't know, you're just living your life.
And there's a lot in there, and I'm going to unpick every part that I'd like to unpick through this. But one of the things that really resonates with me is you spoke about when you were in corporate and you were headhunting like gas and lots of dominant male energy. So what was the what was the flip for you? Like, because that's clearly worked. You were really high
Mhm.
sought after. You were headhunted yourself in corporate for your sales. And I know that you had an incredible career in corporate regarding your sales. So, what was the moment, the definitive moment where you were like, there's something different?
So it's funny because the market that I was in, like it was untapped in the Middle East at the given time. So I started working with a lot of companies in Saudi Arabia and in the UAE. And their way of of receiving information, you have to be extremely adaptable. I know that because I'm half Persian, half Greek, of course, but in Greece, like the sales are a bit more chaotic. In the Middle East, and in particular in Saudi Arabia, there was a way of doing business where, and maybe it was the particular company I was working with, but you almost always wanted the person that you were selling to feel like it was their idea.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do the smash and grab. I couldn't do the hard sales and try and trick someone into buying from me or use those sleazy tactics, because they would smell right through the bullshit and they'd cut you like this, no explanation. So I was like, I've got this amazing client out there. They're doing incredible things, moving into renewable energy. They pay really good money as well. Like they weren't trying to cut costs or anything like that, but what they really wanted is someone that they could trust. So instead of being or viewing headhunting almost as like being someone external that's trying to find people for them, I was like, I'm just going to integrate myself into that company so much. I'll become indispensable. I will always make it feel like it's their idea. You know, I'm dealing with very high level people with huge egos as well. And it started to really pay off because I started just to cultivate relationships and just, kind of show up in my light, do a good job, do the things that I promise, never overpromise, undersell. It was the opposite. And then they started really, really taking me seriously and pumping in a lot of money. So I became like almost the sole person that was doing their headhunting. I understood their culture, their values, their mission, everything. So I could sell their company so well. And what I managed to do is get the right people because I understood their business, the right people into their business, helping them save so much money in people that were just leaving or, you know, people that weren't happy. Like the cost of replacing someone is so huge in these big corporates that actually them paying me 20, 30 grand for every single deal that I was making was nothing to them. And I think that's what really made a difference. And actually, you saw in my company, people then started to really replicate that, really building on those relationships. And that's how this company really started making so much profit is by long-term relationships. And it's exactly the same in business now, like in the work that I'm doing with all these people.
And relationships is huge. I think people underestimate the power of relationships
100%.
where because no one wants to marry the person on the first date. We don't want to go out and have the first date and be proposed to. One, it feels we want to pull back. We may not be ready, all of those things, but yet we still are in a time where there are people treating sales like that. They're treating sales as a transaction rather than a transformation, rather than a relationship, rather than close proximity and all of those kind of things that create trust, rapport, build a connection, all of those things. And so even for you, where your expertise is in sales, you must have seen so much in the industry in terms of the movement of sales, going from this really dominant masculine bro marketing and bro sales to the feminine approach as well. And what you've just described there is how you adapted and I call it silk. Well, we called it the silk weave,
In
and
fact, you coined it, the silk weave. It was you that came up with the name because I remember going live at some point and you were like, you were literally selling without it feeling like you're selling. And you were like, this sounds like a silk weave. And I was like, this is perfect. I'm using that.
yeah, and it does, and it feels like when silk rubs against your skin, it's like so soft, it's so luxurious, but there's something really strong holding you, if that makes sense.
100%.
Let's talk about more about what you see, how the different sales in the industry, and what makes your method completely different from what is out there currently.
You know what? It's not reinventing the wheel. It's not like anything anyone does, like, or the information that they give you is anything crazy or so different. It really comes down to the person, right? And I think that's what makes me different. What makes me different is how much can I drop F-bombs on this
Yeah, of
podcast?
course you can.
Okay. I know you said it's unedited and
Yep,
unfiltered, but I'm like,
absolutely.
okay. Like, I think I care so fucking much about my clients' success. And I think that's what makes me so different. Okay, obviously, my sales processes, like the Silk Weave, like I said, gamification in everything that I
Yeah.
do. I've really started, like what I was saying to you earlier before we jumped on here, I'm bored of everyone's
Yeah.
content. And the way that I look at things, when I'm selling, when I'm promoting, is I always look at it as a bigger picture, and almost like every piece of content is another puzzle piece that is being revealed so that you can see that bigger picture. It's not about just posting once, and then kind of moving on, or, doing the way that people do traditional launches where it's just like information and information and more and more and more and more. It's about creating a journey. It's about creating like a fun game where your clients feel like they're participating in your launches, in your programs, and what you're selling, instead of them just feeling like, oh, okay, like great, fantastic. It's about gamifying your upsell processes. Like the way that I do the pitch is not this like cold pitch at the end of a masterclass where it's like, and these are my offers, and you get 20% off. It's about gamifying that process as well. I've created a game when I'm on a masterclass that I allow my clients or the people that are there, my audience, to participate in the pitch, if you want to call it that, identify their own gaps. And what happens at the end of that is then everyone comes to me and they're like, okay, how can I work with you one to one? How can I work with you on a more personalized level? Because I've changed the way that I've changed the experience.
Yep.
The information, like I said, doesn't necessarily mean it's not something that you can't find out there. It's the experience that you feel while you're going through this. When you are on a master, you know this, you've worked with me before. It's the effort you put in,
Yep.
it's the love you put in, it's the bonds. Like you and I got so close when we were working together. It's the I say to everyone, like, when someone hires me, I want them to feel like I'm a silent partner in their business. That's how invested I am. I benefit from that, not financially. A lot of people ask me, oh, as a coach, do you get a percentage of your clients' earnings? I was like, no, I wish. I wish, because I'd be a super, super, super rich person. But I might not benefit financially, but nothing pisses me off in this world more than, this is what I talk about a lot. Like when the marketing doesn't match the experience you get, that really bothers me. People are smart, they're intelligent. Like, look at everyone's investment,
Yep.
whether it's $30 or 300 or $30,000, as being something that they, like, they're imparting with their money. Like, respect that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I think there's a lot of that just now as well, where, I'm sure there's many that have been in the position where maybe a £30 masterclass is all they had at that moment.
100%.
I've been there as well in the beginning where it was like, okay, a £30 masterclass, but I gave my all. I showed up as if it was
Mm,
£3,000 for
mhm,
that masterclass. And it's about not dissing that, like not pulling that down either, that there are people that are on different levels of buyer's journey, or even when someone new is coming into your world, they may want to buy something really low cost so that they can get to know your energy and all of those things. And what you've described is depth, all over depth. And
yeah.
I know that you create such depth and create amazing relationships in your programs, in your spaces, in your masterminds, because that is how someone feels safe. Someone feels safe to thrive and move when they are feeling that they're held in safety and security, and there's depth there. Because there's so many superficial and surface level things out there. So
Mhm.
how with your background and your knowledge and all of these things can you ensure, how does someone know when something is superficial or surface level? What kind of insights can you give someone to look for when they're going to make a purchase or when they're buying? Because there is a different buying process for
Yeah,
everyone.
I agree. And this is why I created the course that I have, or the intensives. I've called it Mastering the Art of Layered Launching. And it's exactly because of what you just said there. Like, I feel like the way people buy is so different right now. When I was first starting out here, I was selling my one-to-one high ticket offers like hotcakes. Like no one even questioned it because there weren't so many people doing this. Now, as people get burnt in the industry, they're a lot more careful about who they buy. So the ideal kind of client for me is someone who doesn't have what I call trust through numbers, which is this huge audience where you're like, okay, they have 100,000 followers. They're working with some of the biggest names out there. I trust them. If you have a smaller audience, you don't necessarily have that, right? So, mastering the art of layered launching or the layered launching process does exactly that. It allows someone to be in your energy at a lower risk level. So, it's normally something a little bit lower ticket. And then through that, they experience what it's like to work with you on that basis. And then they make the decision as to whether they want to invest in you at a higher price or investment.
Mhm.
And that's how it works. So the reason I've called it layered launching is because it's 4 steps, and each step of the way you pack on and stack an additional layer of trust. That's ultimately like if you want people to buy from you want them to trust you. And whether that's through the information or the admiration they have in you or the testimonials, whatever that is. But as someone with a small audience, or if you're just starting out in business, or if you're really like, I'm still using this process because it works for me. I know. So, for example, the last program that I ran, the comeback, I created a lower ticket offer for people. It sold really well. I got 13 women into it. The money that I got from that, I think it was priced at $199. It's not going to make a difference to my life, right? However, the conversion rate of 25% of that, or 30%, I don't remember, 30% say, into my higher ticket offers with me not having to convince anyone, to force anyone. I just delivered an incredible $199 program, €199 program. Uh, you know, I was shining bright. I was doing my thing. I was getting involved. People were like, I can't believe how much you're giving for a low ticket offer. Getting everyone activated. I did the gamified upsell, and then all of a sudden, I'm sitting there having a huge ass launch just from, being me. And that's what I want to teach people.
Mhm.
Like, I don't want people to just go out there blindly because their coach said, raise your prices because that's how you're going to create authority. Like, do things your own way. Work with the resources you have now. Stop trying to say, when I have 30,000 followers, I'm going to make it. No, that's never going to happen for you. So it's really about stacking trust through those 4 processes. That's my way of thinking of it, at least. And it's worked for me. I've had 50K launches, 60K launches, 25K launches. It's working for my clients. So why am I going to change that?
And this is the thing, because the normal perceived conversion rate is if you have 100 people, then you convert 10% of those. That would be the old way. Like that would be what some of the marketers or like
Uh-huh.
coaches out there will say that. And I'm like you, I disagree with that, because I think if you give
100%.
someone an amazing experience and you completely give your all when you're in that experience, then they're naturally going to want more. They're naturally going to want to be curious. You're going to make them feel seen, heard, and acknowledged. And I
Mm,
think if we're just doing conversions through numbers, then it's almost like we're setting ourselves up for a transaction rather than a transformation. For
a
me, anyway,
thousand
that's my
percent.
opinion.
1,000%. 1,000%. And as you were just speaking, I was just doing the maths in my head. It wasn't 30%. It wasn't 30% because it was 5 out of 13 people. I don't know what the percentage is. Don't ask me anything about maths. All I know was that it was really high. And actually, even the way that you kind of came into my world, it was exactly the same thing. Those show up rates in that launch were like 93% for day one, like 85% for day two. We had 85% of the audience sit through the pitch, which again was gamified, and then the conversion rates were 25%. It's incredible. All this 5-10% thing, those are the standards. Those are the standards numbers. But those are the numbers for people that kind of don't build that intimacy. It's, you know, for those huge coaches that get all of these people into their world, they're not building those intimate relationships and it works for them. But you and I are different.
We are different. And I think the one thing that I've learned about myself over the last few years is that I desire intimacy. I want to know
Mm,
when I'm working with someone in their business, I'm with them in their business. It's a partnership, it's a team. We go together. There's no pedestals, there's no hierarchy. It's like I meet them where they're at in the depth of where they're at, whether they're in the trenches, whether they're in their power, and moving from there rather than, I'm not here for the masses. I keep saying this
mm.
to myself
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
Like, I'm not here for the masses. I'm here for that deep connection. We
Well,
spoke
the
earlier.
impact is the same. The impact is the same. If you impact 1,000 people on a less deep level, it's exactly the same cumulative effect as impacting two or three people on an extremely deep level. So, you know, it's just the way that you want to go about it. I actually don't see the difference at all.
And
It just what's
actually,
worked for you.
in an unconventional way, we actually are hitting the masses without hitting the masses. And that is because if for instance, I'm working with the 6, 7, 8 figure leaders that I work with, and they then have thousands of followers, like multiple thousands of
Mhm.
followers, all
Of
of the work that we do together in
course.
terms of that's a ripple effect. It filters down from them to their families, to their clients, to their followers, and all of those things. So actually, we get to do it the unconventional way.
100%. And it's what you said as well. It's not just about businesses. Like, I don't just change people's businesses, I literally change their lives as
Lives.
well. You know, method living, the embodiment piece of selling, that changed my life. I was insecure and I was anxious, very anxious socially. You know, I always felt like I was unseen when I was growing up. I was raised in a very like Greek Persian family where huge personalities, beautiful people, you know what I mean? I always felt like I was kind of unheard. Um, and method living, which I started as method selling, which is the embodiment of what I'm selling and who I am while I'm selling it, seeped into my life. And I started method living and embodying the person that I want to be, the alter ego, all of that stuff. And then all of a sudden, I'm going to these family events and everyone's just wanting to speak to me, asking me all the questions. Everyone's so intrigued because it's the same with the silk weave. All of these things are interconnected. At the end of the day, what they have in common is it's not about trying to convince anyone or be the loudest person. It's just about being like shining bright and being who you are and embodying, you know, the best version of yourself and allowing people to rise to meet you where you are. And people say to me, why do you have the best clients? Because I have the best clients. It's because I never like stoop, you know, my level. I never lower my level to try and, you know, force someone into my world. They rise. It's that Leo, lion energy, that strong energy of rising to meet me where I am.
And that's where, a lot of people will get refunds, chargebacks, things like that when there's persuasion energy used in
Mm-hmm.
sales or where there's high emotion and there's no connection there. Um, I was just thinking about your method living and method selling, and the one thing that speaks to me is who we are off camera needs to be the same as when we are on camera. Like when I walk out this room or when I am with my family, I'm the same as the person that I work with my clients. And I think that
100%.
is method living. That is like embodying exactly to the tone of who you are, how you walk up, how you get up and walk through a supermarket, or how you treat people with respect and the kindness and
1,000%.
all of those things. Like who you are when you walk into a room and you're with your family and you give them that time and that care and that essence and you meet them and that connection and that love, that ultimately spills out into your business as well. So
100%.
let me hear more about that because there's I remember I always remember the master class that you did, and
Oh,
you had your hair done and you had an orange top, and you really really showed up in the most amazing incredible way. And I think this was when you were uncovering method selling, method living. This was when it kind of like went out of the box as in such. Tell me more, tell us more about that because that I feel catapulted your journey on more levels
A
than one.
1000%. That was what kind of, gave me a seat at the table, amongst like pretty big hitters. That's where I got the majority of the most amazing clients. That's what I really got recognized for. And that has kind of continued. It's my best-selling program. It's what people reach out to me about. Like I've almost created like a cult of method sellers around the world. I think over 450 people have gone through that program. So it's and it's something that happened so fast. I was just watching a movie and then I started becoming obsessed with this whole concept of method acting. And how is it that I'm watching this movie and I'm feeling like I'm there with that person? This person is selling this movie hard, this role hard to me. And I'm so connected to it. I'm crying, I'm laughing, you know? And I was like, this is perfect for sales. This is exactly what I've been doing anyway, but why don't I just make it an actual thing? Why don't I start really kind of leaning into this? And I started coming up with method selling, which is exactly what you said. It's like inhabiting the entire essence and the behaviors of who you are while you're selling your programs. And it I'm a true believer, like you said, that you have to be the same person in and out of business. I'm a true believer of not like plugging in 100% to your business and then plugging out, where you're at zero. I operate at about a 70 to 80% level all the time. My business is a reflection of my life. My life is a reflection of my business. There is no phoniness at all. Um, so that's how kind of method selling came to be. Who am I outside of this business? How do I walk? How do I handle confrontation? How do I speak to my friends? How do I show up for my boyfriend as a dog mom, whatever that may be? What do I wear? What is the scent? What do I eat? How do I fuel my body? And that kind of seeped into my sales processes as well because I was like, okay, I'm selling my content box of mine, that's about results, that's about content. I want it to be super masculine energy. So you'd see a lot of posts around money wins and testimonials, and you can do this and uplifting. And in my everyday life, I'd, go and lift heavier weights. And then I'd have softer launches, like method selling. Method selling was a bit more of a feminine launch. And there was a lot. That's why I went and got my hair done that day. And I wore the orange, which is like the feminine energy color. And the messaging, the content was softer. And it's about also understanding your buyers. The content comes from within. From my experiences, no content ever is, oh, ChatGPT, write like a piece of content for me. It's like, oh, I went to the bakery today and I overheard this conversation and I'm going to create content around that because I'm so tuned in and plugged into my message that anything I see around me is like a content idea.
Yep.
That's how this kind of, it was a 2 week launch. I think I had like 30, 40 people show up and it was a paid program as well. And then that was my highest launch. I think I had like a 63K upsell launch off the back of that. Amazing. I loved it. It was the
I
best.
think that's when I come into your world because, for context, I was in a program and I would only attend Natasha's calls. Like, it's the only ones that I would watch because there was something about your energy that was really captivating. It was, it was seamless. You were so open, so transparent, all of those things. And then that's eventually how I ended up coming up into your world. So already you were doing method living, method selling before you'd even coined that aspect. Let's
It's
talk
the
about,
embodiment before you even create the offer. And can I just say, in the spirit of transparency, I used to be a guest expert for a lot of coaches and a lot of big coaches that used to pay me to go into their programs and deliver sales training. And at the end of every single kind of round, if it was a launch or year, if it was evergreen program, in all of the application forms or the feedback forms that those coaches used to get, the what was your favorite part of the program always was like the sales training with Natasha. So much so that I think every single person was like, we can't continue having you as a guest expert because you're taking all our clients. And bear in mind, I never, ever, you can vouch for me.
Yeah.
I never once
No.
approached you and said, work with me.
No.
Everyone just wanted to work with me. So I lost those opportunities because they were losing clients, which was, I mean, fair, but I wasn't poaching anyone.
It's insane, though. It's really insane when you think about it. But, I always say the universe nudges us when we're ready to go. So that was probably your nudge as well. And I can wholeheartedly say that not once did you ever, ever even try and send a DM or pitch or any of those things
Oh,
when
my style.
when I was in one of these programs. And that showed me your integrity. Like that showed me how committed and loyal you were to your projects and what you did. I want to quickly talk about the silk weave. So because this is one of my favorite topics, and it's around what is the silk weave? How do we be the silk weave when we're selling?
I think I always view everything I do in life because I'm a very visual learner. I always like to have an analogy. And with silk, it's like it looks very delicate, but actually it's super, super strong, right? And that's what I always view sales as. Like, I'm constantly selling. I just never look at it as selling. I'm just like, I'm just talking about what I do and how I do it. And I don't give a shit if you join my world or not. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need your investment. I don't need your money. If you choose to pick me, fantastic. You're my person. And that's what the silk weave, like in my everyday life, whether I'm crossing the road, and there's a car coming and there's a bike coming and there's traffic light, I'm negotiating. I'm in this space of negotiations. At the supermarket, I'm negotiating. Like, my boyfriend, sometimes he finds it so funny because he's like, okay, don't push them. So I'm like, it's fun for me. I'm always negotiating. I'm always having these conversations. I don't care who you are, the butcher or the CEO or whoever you are. I'm always speaking. I'm always selling, and I don't even notice I'm selling. And that's what the silk weave. It's a way of kind of selling yourself and selling what you do without it ever feeling like a sale. So it's through storytelling. It's through like little insinuations or like little cheeky comments and stuff like that. It has to play to your personality and your character as well. I'm shameless. I go on lives and I'm speaking about something and I'm like, and if you want to join my one-to-one, like go on my that's like a fun way to
Mhm.
sell. The gamified content strategy that I have, that's a silk weave. I'm hitting the different types of buyers. I have 7 different types of buyers that I want to speak to. And whether I know it or not, like some people will need to be taught that, but I do it very, very naturally. I'm hitting every single one of those buyers, right? Um, like it's that. It's like, once someone came on live with me and I was like asking questions and they were responding, and I was like, I don't remember. I think her name was Kaylee. I was like, I'm gonna DM you later because I love all of your answers and I feel like I need to be the person for you. It's having fun with things.
Yeah.
That's what the silk weave is.
And what I would suggest to anyone listening is because I know Natasha and I know that she has silk weaved all the way through this podcast, and if you listen
I didn't
back,
even notice.
exactly, but if you listen intently, there are lots of clues and lots of insights there that she has silk weaved all the way through this podcast. And have you felt like you've been sold to? I want you to ask yourself that question when you're listening to this. Have you felt that you've been sold to? Because this is the difference. The difference between silk weave sales and masculine sales is that when you're operating from that true embodiment, it doesn't feel like a sale. It doesn't feel like it feels like you want to be part of something that someone's offering because it sounds so bloody amazing that you just can't not have that thing.
It
So,
has to feel like the logical next step. And I'm just gonna say, it also has to make sense.
yep.
I never now, while I was silk weaving, I never once tried to sell something that didn't relate to a question that you were asking.
Yep.
If someone goes off topic and they're talking about, I don't know, mindset, and they're like, well, actually, my layered launching thing is just so, it won't connect. So you have to be very quick on your feet. You have to also be operate in integrity. And you also, like you said, it's the embodiment piece because these things come up for me so fast. Like I don't even realize that I'm doing it. And I just did it again by saying the layered launching. But like it's just I always sell through examples, right? A conversation comes up, I come up with an example, and then I always kind of do the silk weave through those examples, but it's relevant. It's not random.
But it's natural and it feels free
Exactly.
flowing. It feels like it piques your interest and curiosity. I mean, even the discussion we've had today, it's like,
Mm.
I'm so tuned, tapped in, I can see the silk weave playing out, but you've not even realized that you know, you're silk
I
weaving. I would watch so many of Natasha's lives and I would say, I saw you silk weaving. I feel like, really? Yep, yep. But it feels good and it always feels good to watch someone sell as well. It's a really good indication of how
Mm,
someone is. Like I would purposely sit in rooms where people would sell just to see the way that they sold, how they did they pitch at the end? And I think a lot of people are now more they're now more aware now that if they go to a master class, it's likely there's going to be a pitch. It's likely that there's going to be some sort of, but it's how the pitch is done. Do you wait until the
1000%.
deliver a banging masterclass and then completely flop it at the end with a massive pitch? It just feels really off-putting. And I've been there. I've done these things. We all make
Me
mistakes.
too.
We learn from them. So, if you could only share one message with the world, like only one message, you had only, like, you were complete bunker mentality. That's another
I was
Fernando
just gonna
Fernanda.
say that's perfect.
If you could only share one message with the world, what would that message be?
Outside of business,
Anything.
hmm. Honestly, my answer would have been very different last year and the year before. But what I've realized, and I think what has made me so successful, both in my life, my personal life, because you were there right from the beginning, popcorn guy,
Yep.
right from the beginning, and also in my business, is lead with love.
Yep.
And I mean that in every sense of the way, in the work that you're putting out there. If you resent the work that you're creating, no one's going to buy from it. If you resent the people that you got into your programs and you're like, that's a $30 offer, I'm only going to give her $30 worth, you're going to run into problems. If you have a confrontation with a client, you also know this. I had a client that I had to fire because she was literally stealing all of my programs word for word. And I walked away from about $6,000 pretty early on in my career. So the money meant something to me. The conversation was so different to the outcome. The conversation was with so much love and so much grace. And I continue to speak to this person to this day in your life with your friendships. Like not everyone is on the same wavelength, not everyone thinks in the same way as you. So always lead with it, love and emotional intelligence. It's a huge piece in everything that you do. If you put your heart and soul into it, but then also infuse the strategy and all of that, because there's also love and strategy, and you genuinely love what you do, people will believe it. Those months that I fell completely out of love with my business, no one was buying, you know? And then the comeback came literally, and in the program, it came back. And then all of a sudden, so many people. I've had someone join my one-to-one programs every single week this year already. Why? Because again, I'm so tapped into not even my higher vision, because honestly, I don't even know what I want. I don't know what my higher vision is or my mission in life is or anything like that. But I know right now what I'm doing, I love so much. I love my clients. I respect them. I and I think that's a huge part of this is like don't disrespect people, you know? Don't disrespect the people that have put trust in you. So that's the first thing that came to me intuitively. There's a million other things I could say, I like to yap, but that's the first thing that really comes to mind.
I love that. And it is the ability to lead with love, like to lead with love, to love your clients, to love the people that are coming into your world, to show them the respect that they're giving up their time, their energy to be
1,000%.
with you, whether that be a smaller offer, whether that be a mid-ticket offer, a high-ticket offer. Like people are coming into your world. It's an invitation to have a relationship with them. I dropped something along these lines in my free Telegram group this morning, and this was around being so connected to your offer. Like, get into the
Hmm.
energy of your offer. Like, ask yourself, what do you want to bring to people? What do you want to give to people? How do you want people to feel when they're in your world, your energy? Like, how do you want to show up? How do you want people to show up for you? Because when we're in that energy, it will always be matched. It will always be matched. And we will dust away the
1,000%.
things that aren't ready to be in that space. And that comes from leading with love completely.
I agree with you. It's everything in life is a mirror. Like my entire business, I really focused on that concept of everything in life is a mirror. I had my money mirrors mastermind back then. I all my branding was just selfies in mirrors, and there was a reason for that because I truly do believe that everything you put out and the way you show up for people, the way you show up in your own programs, like as a client, my dog is nudging me, as a client, people will show up for you. The way that you shout, like we had this conversation the other day where you're like, you're one of the only people I've worked with that still engages, even after I've left your program, like still engages in my content, still engages in the work that I do. Like because I do that because I would love my clients to do that and they do that back to me. So the whole concept of mirrors is just is so powerful, and I believe that. I'm with you 100%.
Thank you so much, Natasha. This has always been an incredible conversation. We've went through absolutely lots today, and silk weaves, layered launching, mirrors, all of the things. And I think ultimately the bottom line is sell who you are, be who you are, and serve who you are, because that is always going to have the greatest encounter with anyone. And building relationships. Building relationships is what matters. Relationships come first. Where can our
100%.
listeners find you? Like, where can they go and check your work out and see where you are? Where are you hanging about just now? Like, all of those things on socials.
So the best place to find me is obviously on Instagram. The handle is at I am Natasha Leya, Leya. I also work a lot on Facebook as well. I'm trying to put more into Facebook. As for
I've
my
seen
post
that.
yesterday, I was talking about how Instagram is like the toxic boyfriend that you can't get away from and you're so attracted to, but gives you nothing back. And then Facebook is like that reliable boyfriend that you want, like you need, but you don't want, and gives you the ick. But I'm trying to embrace the ick, and I'm really trying to lean into Facebook because 95% of my clients come from Facebook. I think it's a much friendlier platform as well. And, we're building something really special on Facebook. But if someone's on my Instagram, they'll be able to find my Facebook. But yeah, those are the main places.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. And everyone, I would please encourage you to go back, re-listen to this, and hear how you can magically turn your words into sales. I'll see you on the next episode.